This is the Mercedes-Benz EQA, and I've been living with it for a little while, but this year alone I reviewed a few electric cars, from a couple of Teslas, including a performance one, a Volvo EX30, even BYD as well, and even the year before that a BMW. But the question is, would I switch to this car if I was to make the switch to electric? Let's talk about it. So yes guys, this is the Mercedes-Benz EQA 250 Plus. Now Mercedes-Benz never used to make the 250 Plus. This was introduced about a couple of years ago. Basically means larger battery and slightly more efficient electric motor, which ultimately means more range. But we'll get on to more about those tech specs in a minute. I just wanted to touch on the exterior kind of design and stuff. So if you're not familiar, basically the EQA is basically a Mercedes-Benz GLA, and the GLA is like their entry-level SUV. So call this the entry-level electric in the Mercedes-Benz range. Now the car I have here is Premium Plus. Now I'll get on to some more about the packages in a minute, but I love this colour combo. Polar white with the kind of black night package all the way around the windows, and these wheels. These wheels look incredible. Although I will add they are a little bit of a challenge, shall we say, to clean. But having said that, they do look really, really nice. Now, as with a lot of EVs that have come out over the past few years or so, they all kind of have this like light bar. It's just like EV's kind of signature thing. I think some electric cars that have come out kind of more recently have stopped doing that, but I dig the light bar. You have to let me know your thoughts in the comments. I do like a light bar on the front, especially the one at the back as well that goes all the way around the outside. But yes, look at this grille. Now, when it comes to an electric car, they don't need like to almost suck in air as such. So this is why it's completely flush. And Mercedes-Benz have still found a way to put as many Mercedes logos and stars on the front. But yes, a quick note on the dimensions just in case you're wondering. So as I mentioned, it is very, very similar to the Mercedes-Benz GLA. So length is 4,465 millimeters, width 2,020 millimeters, and height 1,624. But yes, this is the kind of color contrast I absolutely love on this car. Either this or in grey, which Mercedes call mountain grey metallic. I think those kind of two would be my absolute favourites. But yeah, even on the top here, you've got this kind of roof bar all in black as well. So very, very neat. Now, when it comes to on-the-road price of the EQA 250 Plus, it starts from about £49,700, of course correct at the time of recording. Now the one I have here has Premium Plus, so this actually has a few extra gadgets on it. This starts at just over £57,000. So obviously something to factor in. Of course this will vary around the world. But in the UK, Mercedes actually do have a couple of extra things you can choose. So this is the driving assistance package. That's like a whole world of things, which I'll link in the description down below if you want to see more about that particular package. Then there's also a thing called the towing package as well. Although I will add, as this is electric, probably not the best thing to do in the world with towing with an electric car. The kind of experience is really good, but it will significantly reduce your range. So something to factor in, maybe just use it for more local stuff if you are gonna do anything with a tow bar like a bike rack or something. Now when it comes to the boot is exactly the same as the GLA, which is the non-electric version, being all electric, so that's good to see. Boot capacity is 340 litres, as you see right here, but if you fold the seats down just like this here, then they can actually go up to 1,300 litres, or just over. And there is also a tiny bit of underfloor storage space as well, although it is just purely for the tyre repair kit, manual first aid kit and locking bolts, so not really any space under there. And another thing to point out as well is that this bag you see here is actually for the charge cable. So the charge cable actually goes just on top here, so this does eat into your boot space, as there is no frunk in this car, so just something to factor in. Now, one very, very important thing, guys, is that if you are looking at a Mercedes electric car, do think about your experience when it comes to public charging. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, have reviewed a few electric cars this year, one of which is Tesla. And they have a huge pro on their part where they own and run the Tesla supercharger network. But Mercedes have a trick up their sleeve. They have a thing called Mercedes Me Charge. It's kind of like a, almost like this special app, and there's a Mercedes Me Charge card that kind of looks a bit like this up here, and you can link it to the car and just makes your charging experience so much easier. Now, I'm not going to run through that in this video just because it is quite in depth, so I'm going to make a video over the next few weeks about it, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. But yeah, if you have an electric car from Mercedes or a plug-in hybrid, it is essential you sign up for that. There is a free tariff that you don't have to pay for, but there are other ones that reduce the electricity cost. But yeah, I'll go through that in another video. What we need to go through here are the rear seats. So this is my driving position. I'm 6'2", and I cannot stress this enough. I have very long legs, so I have to sit further back than I would, you know, for like the average person. But there's something very important to note about the rear seats here, is that the floor is raised to compensate for where the battery goes. Because remember, this is built on the Mercedes GLA platform, so the battery goes underneath, which means the floor comes up a bit. Which means here, this looks extremely comical and, well, probably uncomfortable for me for a long journey, just because as I said, I have very long legs. It's sadly a thing that I always have to explain when I do car reviews. But yeah, that's my driving position, and that's how much kind of knee room I've got there. And yeah, check out the cup holders. Yep, all good in there. Standard usual Mercedes cup holders there. This car of course has the nice panoramic sunroof, which is very nice. It's got a glass screen here and there, and there's also a blind built in as well. Down here, 2 USB-C ports for charging, which is good, and then good storage on the doors as well. Right, well, let's have a look at the front, where Mercedes-Benz design always looks really good. This is the one thing that I love about Mercedes, this gorgeous kind of screen setup here. Now, weirdly, this design actually came out in 2018 on the A-Class, when it was kind of like this, and it's aged so well. It's still a head turner today. I absolutely love it. So we will get through the multimedia systems in a minute. We'll just kind of go through a quick tour and build quality and that sort of thing. Then we'll get onto the multimedia system, then tech specs, and then a drive. Yes, we will time the 0 to 62 of this car, as you may have seen in other videos that I've done before. So quick tour on the storage then. So down here we have 2 USB-C ports, so that's pretty good. There's a storage area here. This used to have the touchpad, but that touchpad is now gone, so it's just the touch screen. Different buttons down here for drive mode and parking camera. Then in here we have 2 cup holders, another USB-C port, a 12-volt socket, and wireless charging for phones. And then above that we have the climate control. So this being an electric car, you can actually have the heating on, much like I did this morning, where I actually de-iced the car and got it nice and toasty before setting off. Unfortunately, with all the doors and windows open right now, that didn't last. So I can't wait to get going in a minute and put the heating on. But yes, you can put the heating on without the engine electric motor on. So yeah, just a tap of that, and then it will fire up. But I will have that off just for now. But one good thing with the climate control is that it is all buttons, so none of this touch stuff. Believe it or not, you can actually press menu and control it up there if you would like, but other than that, they are all buttons, so kind of the best of both worlds. Then we come on to the steering wheel here. Now the steering wheel, I have this exact same steering wheel apart from one button from the looks of it. On my own car. Now, I really like it. I love the design, as I mentioned in many other review videos on Mercedes. The only thing I don't like is that it is just kind of touch, and it is quite easy to just kind of swipe things handily. As long as you keep your hands kind of on the sides here and don't touch anything in the middle, then things won't happen. But yeah, I love the design, just not a huge fan of the kind of touch element of it, but I bought my car knowing that, so I kind of know how it works. But one good thing is, of course, on the instrument cluster, you can customize and change a load of different things from different themes, and putting the sat nav up here and doing all sorts of things. So very good. And this car even has a head-up display as well, so I can clearly see the speed that I'm doing, among many other things that you can tweak and change, all up there, which is pretty cool, which is one of the reasons why this has a little bit of a cutout there for the head-up display. Storage on the doors is also good as well, so currently got my my gloves in there at the moment, which are very much needed for today. But yes, nice big storage bins down there for drinks, sunglasses and that sort of thing. And then down there is a button to open and close the boot, just in case you're dropping someone off at the airport and they forgot to shut your boot. So a quick note on the build quality. Now, this being an EQA, as I mentioned previously on just a couple of minutes ago, this is identical to the GLA, which is a larger version of the A-Class. So basically the build quality in this is exactly the same as that car, and you'll find all the kind of premium materials are up here, all nice leather squidgy materials up here, and kind of the harsher plastics are kind of like further down. So as you go down, you'll find those more kind of firmer plastics. But the one good thing with this being an electric car is that Mercedes just go to the extra levels of detail to make it super quiet in here, and you do notice that, which we'll see when we go for a drive in a minute. So it is silent here when you're driving, and this being an EQA, as I said, like GLA size, it's slightly higher off the ground as well, so the kind of ride quality is superb. So this is very, very good for an entry-level electric car. Now, when it comes to the multimedia system, this is known as MBUX, and this is like their generation 2 of MBUX. So it came out in 2018 on generation 1, and this is one of the latest versions that you can get of it, and it is very, very good. This one is identical to my own car. However, this has a Mercedes EQ menu for everything kind of electric. But I want to show you a couple of extra things on the sat-nav, how to start and stop it, and also the extra things that this does of it being an electric car. So for one, the multimedia system itself is very, very responsive. One good thing, if I show you on the sat-nav, you can see here that it is super responsive. So one thing I can't stand on the multimedia system is if when you press the button and it takes a second or so to register what you've clicked. But no, this is very responsive. Now, operating sat-nav is very, very easy. So if we go where to, and you can literally just type in where you want to go in that search box there. Say I want to go to nearest city, just start typing away. As soon as you tapped it from the list, then tap let's go, and away you go.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
Now, one good thing with this being an electric car, it does extra cool things on the sat-nav, which are very, very important, especially if you're buying this car as your first electric car. So for example, my battery at the moment is 74% charged, and you'll see here it says 68%. This shows you what the battery is going to be when you get there. So it will actually give you some reassurance of your state of charge for your battery on journeys that you do. And one really, really good thing is if you go further than the car's range, it will actually plot in this charging stations for you to stop, which is part of that Mercedes Me Charge thing that I mentioned just a moment ago. Now, I haven't set it up in this car just yet because I want to make a kind of tutorial guide on how you set it up. So as I said, to make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. But yes, it is essential for EV owners and plug-in hybrid owners because it just makes charging so much easier. Speaking of charging, there is an extra menu, as I mentioned, called Mercedes EQ. So in here, it allows you to control a variety of different things, from adjusting the battery state of charge, so you can go, I only want to charge to 80% or maybe 60% or the full 100%. You can see reasons why that it might not charge at its maximum capacity, because the way batteries work is that they'll charge from usually about 0 or 10% to 80% really, really fast, and then it will kind of taper off from 80 to 100. So it can give you kind of explanations as to why certain things are doing certain things. It's quite a good menu to go into, and you can even schedule your heating to come on right before you leave for work in the morning. So I could have done with that this morning, but I just got the app out and turned it on remotely, which was just as good. Now, a couple of extra things on the multimedia system. Of course, this has Bluetooth like every car these days, but it does have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, which is pretty good. You can plug it in via the wire if you want to. And of course, there's media, and in media, there's also a thing called online music. So you can actually link up Spotify and Apple Music and various other providers through the multimedia system without actually using your data from your phone. So if you don't want to use CarPlay and want to use the Mercedes sat-nav because this is an EV and it's kind of the best thing to do, then you can do it that way. And of course there's a couple of extra things in apps there, and then in comfort, which allows you to adjust all this gorgeous ambient lighting. It is quite bright out at the moment, so you won't see it too much, but one thing I love in this EQA is the kind of lighting that goes this way, very much like the GLA, because I don't get that in my A-Class. It's a nice little upgrade there. Oh, and before we go for a drive, every new car these days has a speed warning thing. So sometimes you might want to turn this off because, say, you're going through roadworks and there hasn't been clear signage to say the speed has gone back to normal speed, or maybe you've got, you know, bad weather, foggy conditions. You can turn that speed warning off just there and back on there. You can even, there's a shortcut on the steering wheel to do it as well. Right, let's go through the tech specs and then we'll get this out for a drive and we will test the 0 to 62 of this car. Now, when it comes to tech specs, there are 2 electric motors you can choose from. So as I mentioned, this is the EQA 250 Plus, the one with the higher range, and to be honest, probably the one I would personally go for. There is also an EQA 300 if you want a little bit more power, but does come with a slight drawback on that one. Yes, it's more powerful, and yes, it also has 4MATIC, which is Mercedes-Benz's 4-wheel drive system, which I absolutely love, but it does also mean it has a slightly smaller battery, which means the range is significantly less. So the EQA 250 Plus has 190 horsepower, meaning you can get 346 mile range on its 70.5 kilowatt hour battery. However, if you go for the EQA 300, 228 horsepower, but only 266 mile range because of its 66.5 kilowatt hour battery. 0 to 62s are 8.6 seconds and 7.7 seconds for both of these 2 variants, which I want to test. So let's get this out on the road and see if I can get that 0 to 62 time. Now, this being a very, very cold day, I will have to go a tad careful, but we'll see if we can beat or achieve the 0 to 62 time on just up here, although we'll have to get past these horses first. There's always horses and ponies here whenever I film in the New Forest. Oh, go a tad careful. I don't want to damage this car giving it back to Mercedes when they want it back. Slowly go past. Now, the thing with this bit here is the road doesn't actually give you that much space to kind of pull out of, so when I get a clear opening, we'll go. Oh, look at that, here we go. Struggling to get some grip. Come on. There we go, we hit 60. What do we get? 8.13. Wait, that can't be right. It was 8.6, Mercedes said, and I had a tiny bit of wheel spin. Okay. This one's a little bit more livelier than I thought. There we go. Now, one good thing I would like to say with Mercedes electric cars is not only are they very smooth in the acceleration, of course they do have a bit of oomph if you put them into their sport mode, but they also have a very cool thing on their paddles. Now, normally the paddles will allow you to change gear, but no, not in an electric car. These adjust the brake recuperation. So at the moment, we can use the timing gear speed there when we're doing about 60. If I take my foot off the accelerator pedal, it slowly goes down, and if I have a bit more brake recuperation, it goes down a lot more. And I'll show you the strongest one in just a second when we come off on the slip road. So normal recuperation, strong recuperation, and then maximum recuperation. So again, doing 60 here ish, foot off the accelerator pedal, and it slows down. Oh geez, it does slow down a lot. Look how, geez. Obviously that is your kind of preference. There is also an automatic mode as well, so it's called intelligent recuperation. So as you approach a car in front, say, I don't know, you're doing 70 and the car in front is doing 60 and you're approaching them, it'll adjust that brake recuperation just to the point where you match their speed. It's quite clever. I have a Mercedes A-Class and I've been dailying that now for over the past year, and Lovely, lovely car. A little bit firmer compared to this one because it's a hatchback, but this one's, as I said, slightly higher up, and it's a lot more smoother on the road. And you'll find the suspension is just kind of a little bit more floaty, and you can certainly feel the weight of the batteries, like, you know, on the bottom of the floor. But I wouldn't call this a slouch at all. I mean, I doubt someone's going to be buying this car to be throwing it around, you know, corners and tracking a car or that sort of thing. I mean, if you wanted more power, then you can go for the EQA 300s, but just be mindful of the range as it drops a bit. So I think for most people, I think the 250 plus is definitely the way to go. But obviously, just bear in mind it is front wheel drive, so if you have a spirited driving kind of driving style, then you might find it can spin up the front wheels just a little bit easier, especially on cold conditions like it is today. I literally wouldn't mind this car at all. I mean, it's certainly bigger than my current car. It's electric as well, which is good. It's a little bit more expensive than I personally would like to spend, but if you're looking at keeping with the German brand Mercedes and wanting to go electric, it's a pretty good car. However, as I've started to introduce on some of my newer videos over the past few months, I go through a load of pros and cons. So let's go through those pros and cons now. So starting off with the pros first. Now, if you're considering an EV and didn't want to leave a German manufacturer, I think Mercedes-Benz EQA is a very, very good and more than capable car for your first EV. Starting price, it is above the £40,000 mark, which I'll touch on in a second. But having said that, for everything you kind of get, and yes, I know this one's got a fair few extras in it, which I mentioned earlier, I think it's an okay price for for an entry-level EV in a premium brand. At number two is definitely the smooth ride. I would compare this as close, not quite, but close to a Mercedes EQE, which is actually a lot more, and you can even get air suspension and stuff like that. So yeah, the ride quality of this is very, very good. Very, very smooth as well, ironing out those bumps, and certainly some of the roads around here are questionable. But yeah, just kind of irons them out a lot compared to like my hatchback, obviously that being a lot lower down. And then the final pro I've got to say is that the range on this has improved dramatically, because when the EQA first came out, it was about 260 odd miles or so, and obviously that's, as with all manufacturers, that's what's quoted, but then it's always statistically a lot less than that. But yeah, the fact this number now starts with a 3 just means that you're going to get a lot more range. So yeah, this morning it was like -1 degree, so that's probably like the worst conditions for testing a car's range. But having said that, still just having that greater range with the 250 plus is very good to see. Now we get on to the cons, so the negatives and things to consider if you're looking at the Mercedes EQA. Now, because this car is built not from the ground up, this is basically a Mercedes GLA chassis or shell. Because of the battery placement, you'll find that the floor is raised. Just means that people with long legs like me might not have the best experience in the rear seat. Now, yes, I know I've got very long legs, but as I said, you'll just have to try it out for yourself. Maybe look at a completely built from the ground up EV if that is very important to you. Having said that though, it wouldn't put me off buying this car, because I think I've maybe had 3 occasions where someone sat in the back seat of my car, and it was a very short journey anyway. Maybe 4 just off the top of my head, but it's mainly me, so maybe me and someone else. So yeah, I don't think that wouldn't be a deal breaker for me anyway, but just something to factor in if you have a family. The next one I'd say is that the range, of course, as I mentioned, drops dramatically if you go for the faster variant, mainly because of 2 things. One, the 4MATIC system, so instead of just turning the front wheels, it will turn all 4. Obviously, there's some variability on that, but then also the battery is slightly smaller on the faster variant. I'd imagine it's probably to make space for the Mercedes 4MATIC system, potentially. But yeah, it goes from 70.5 kilowatt hours to 66.5 kilowatt hours, so obviously just something to factor in. And then the final one is something that I brought up on a couple of electric cars reviews recently, is that the tax bracket for the UK, the premium tax for the road fund licence, because this car is over £40,000, it falls into that bracket, which then means you have to pay £500-600 a year in tax, even though this is an electric car, which is a shame. Someone actually made a very good comment on YouTube. Actually, they said that the tax bracket should have moved up a bit, maybe to £50,000 or £60,000, which would make sense because the cost of living and the cost of cars has all gone up over the years, but that threshold has stayed the same, which puts this car above that threshold now. But oh well, I mean, it is a premium German SUV, so technically SUV because I know it's on the smaller side, but yeah, just something to factor in if you're considering it. So yes guys, there we go. I think we will end it there. Thank you so much for watching. That concludes this week's video on the Mercedes-Benz EQA 250 Plus. Would I pick this car? I would, personally. It's just the tax thing that puts me off. If the tax threshold changed, then I might consider this. It would be a little bit more money, but then the running costs would be significantly less because you charge at home and stuff, but maybe, we'll see. If that tax didn't exist, then I think I probably would, because it's an awesome car. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, see you then.